Welcome to week 2. Well, I'm sure you're just as intrigued about this week's topic as I am. Simplicity. What could be easier? Well, in fact, sometimes trying to sound simple can be especially difficult. One of the reasons for this is because often when we're trying to communicate with people, we're doing more than just trying to be clear. Communication is also an attempt to display authority and power. And often, our desire for authority can supplant our desire to communicate clearly. And when that happens, we'll find the signal in the room begins to fade in favor of more noise. And so here we're going to find out today, in week 2, just how simplicity can be rendered according to the signal-noise ratio we talked about last week. And we're going to do that, of course, by looking at the concept of simplicity and how simplicity is actually related to the concept of authority and power, and how power and authority can often complicate that signal-noise ratio. So let's take a look at this item as an example. It's an item that I recently came across in a Manhattan restaurant. I didn't order it, but I want to go with us together on the decoding and the encoding process that I saw happening here as I read through the menu itself. So you open it up and you see this item, a peanut puree, lightly garnished with jellied grape essence, nestled on a bed of pain blanc. Now, what exactly could we be ordering here? Okay, I know, no real mysteries. We can all pretty much see that what we're seeing here is a simple peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Yeah, so why the extra syllables? Well, you know as well as I know that the price for this delicious entree came to about $12, and I'll be damned if anyone can get away with charging that much using simpler rhetoric. You know, I'll bet it even tastes better once you actually read it in this, according to these terms, rather than the usual terms of just a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I don't know about you, but when someone actually uses more syllables or a better tone describing the food that they're actually serving, I find it does start to taste better. Or maybe I'm just rationalizing why I'm spending $12 ordering a very simple item. My point here anyway is that the restaurant very knowingly sacrificed signal in order to charge a bit more for a noisy entree. Now, when we're working together, we might be tempted to add more noise to our own menus for precisely the same reason. We want to make sure our colleagues know who's really in charge. But this authority can come with another price, and it's not just the change we lose when we pay for overpriced items at an expensive New York City restaurant. Let me give you another example. When I was in graduate school, my mentor once told me, in his view, no one really understood a concept. No idea at all, really, unless they could explain it using a maximum of 3 sentences. That's right, just 3. If you had to use more than 3 sentences, he said you didn't really understand what was going on. And he convinced me that this was the case when he was actually able to summarize the key points in Hegel's first book, Hegel's Phenomenology of Spirit. 600 pages. And let me tell you, it's not an easy read. But he did it. He summarized the idea for me in exactly 3 sentences, using those parameters. Now, don't ask me to repeat it. I still don't know Hegel that well. But if I did, I believe that what he said was correct. I'd be able to explain it to you in a very simple and condensed way. So we're going to begin this week by looking at instruction and management techniques that can help us both communicate and apply our expertise. You see, my mentor didn't sacrifice his authority by actually cutting down the syllables. In fact, he did just the opposite. He convinced us that he had the expertise, that by condensing and actually making something that was normally complex into something very simple, he had the authority to lead us through the book itself. And this is expertise that you alone may know well and very thoroughly, and you can show people that when you actually decide to begin and lead a new project. So simplicity, as you can guess from my examples here, means first and foremost how to condense information in order to share it effectively. And just because we're opting for clarity and abbreviation in our words, just because we're cutting down on the syllables, doesn't have to mean that we're giving up authority. It means that we're willing to share our authority and act more as a facilitator than merely a source of power. And again, going back to my mentor, that's exactly what he was doing. By giving me Hegel in 3 sentences, he was in fact sharing Hegel with me, hoping that I'd be able to give him a little bit of feedback on the ideas myself. And I was. He made Hegel live for me, made Hegel possible. And you can do that too when you're willing to share your own authority and act again as a kind of a facilitator, and not just someone who's doling out power. Effective facilitating can be more important than ever in today's professional world because more often than not, you're going to find that we're working with people with extremely diverse skills, and they come from multiple backgrounds. This is a good thing. More skills, more backgrounds can mean a richer, more robust project. So your role here is much more akin to that of a conductor. Think of yourself actually working with a variety of different musicians, all playing different instruments. You're the one who has to decide who comes in first and for what amount of time before giving the floor to the others. That can be extremely tough, and condensation can be one of your most effective tools. So what are our goals this week? Well, first of all, we're going to learn visual presentation skills, and we're going to use some technologies that show us how to present information effectively in a simple way, in a way that actually promotes facilitation while not sacrificing, but in fact augmenting the expertise you have. And we're going to look at some general organization methods. I'm going to ask you to design a project poster that's related to a personal hobby or maybe some kind of proficiency that you have, something of your choice. Here, the principle of simplicity is going to ensure that clear, concise, yet valid principles can be drawn from even the most particular of circumstances. By initiating your project at the beginning of this course, at the same time, you're going to be constructing a community of your own with shared goals. Now remember, your community is going to be incredibly diverse here. All of you out there have different experiences, different practices. But when we use simple design software, let's say like Canva, or screen capture software like Jing, you're going to be able to record and edit video for online broad distribution in a way that fully demonstrates instructions, guidelines, and most importantly, very explicit group roles in a collective initiative that you decide. Now, this is going to be one of the more interesting and certainly one of the funnest topics that we're going to be looking at this week. So I'm really excited to begin this next task with you. All right, so let's begin. We're going to keep it short, keep it simple, and keep it clear.